Hi team, Amar here. So quite a lot of you have noticed that my training times have been a lot slower since the marathon. And few have questioned why. Well, it's because we're following a new training program, and the program is called Polarized Training, or the 80-20, and it is used a lot by endurance athletes all over the world. So what is polarized training? Let's find out. So what is polarized training? Polarized training is when you're spending a majority of your training volume under 75 or 80% of your max heart rate, or 3 to 4 at your rate of perceived exertion. And that last 20% is at race pace or faster. And why do we do that? Because in endurance events, you've got to have large training volume. With low intensities, you can train for a little bit longer, you can recover a little bit quicker, and you can do it more often. So how do you calculate your max heart rate? It's basically 220 minus your age. If you really want to get high tech, you can go to a sports lab where they'll hook you up with some machines and you can accurately get your max heart rate plus your max VO2. But for the beginner runner, 220 minus your age works well. And percentages do 70 to 80% of that. And that's what you should be aiming to maintain for your low, slow runs. So personally for me, that's around 145 beats per minute. If you've got a smartwatch, that will track your heart rate. You can definitely have a look and make sure that you're tracking and running below that level. If not, you can also use rate of perceived exertion, which is basically how huff and puff you are while you're running. General rule of thumb is that if you're doing a low intensity, you should be able to maintain a conversation with somebody with full sentences, like I am at the moment. If you start to get a bit tired and you're huffing and puffing and you can't maintain the conversation, you're going a little bit too quick. So make sure you slow down and then go from there. So how do we structure your training program? So most importantly, pick an either time or you pick your distance as your 2 units of measurements. Okay, so I generally like to pick time. So the amount of time that I want to spend running at low intensity and the amount of time that you want to spend running at the high intensity. So if you're a beginning runner, there's many programs that you can follow. And the most important thing is every single person is unique in terms of the amount of load that they can tolerate. So if you've got a bit of background in fitness, in sport, you may be able to tolerate load a lot more than somebody who doesn't have that fitness background. So in order to start your basic program, pick a time or a distance that's comfortable for you. And then from that, we can then progress it forward. So if you're starting out and say you're doing a total of 10 hours of running, so you might do a couple of long runs, a couple of sort of easy runs, and then a little bit of sprint work. 10 hours is a long time, mind you, but how would you structure that is that for those 10 hours, 8 hours is done at 75 or 80% of your max heart rate and under, and then you've got that hour and a half, 2 hours that you would do at your max race pace or quicker. These figures are also adjustable, so it's no hard rule that you have to do 80-20. So if you're starting off, you might do 9 hours at less than 75-80% of your max heart rate and do an hour of sprint work. It all depends on, like we said, how you tolerate load and how you progress going forward. And in terms of progressions, how to progress, there's no real hard or fast rule there. There's a lot of information out there and a lot of people use the 10% rule, which is, you're increasing your training volume and intensity by 10%. But if you look at the data and research out there, like I said, there's nothing conclusive to say this is the hard and fast rule, because as mentioned before, everyone tolerates load differently. So somebody who can tolerate a little bit more maybe be able to progress at 20% per week, or if somebody is just starting out, may do 10%. So there's no real hard or fast rule there. You progress to what's comfortable for you. So there you have it, guys. That's polarized training in a nutshell. So if you're starting out, like we said, you want to train at 75 or 80% of your max heart rate and less, and then do a little bit of speed work to improve that speed and power. In regards to your progressions, progress as you feel that's comfortable. A general rule of thumb is going to be a 10% to 20%. Make sure you continue your strength training, because that's extremely important to make sure you reduce injury and keep your strength in your legs. And more importantly, enjoy the process.